Okay, so I'm often asked what type of thinset should be used, modified or unmodified. So to answer this question, you first need to know the kind of tile that's being installed and on what kind of surface. But before we go into that, let's understand how Thinset works. Actually, the purpose of this video is more to explain how Thinset works than anything else. So how does Thinset work to bond the tile and the substrate together? So Thinset is basically a mixture of sand and cement and other compounds that facilitate the hydration process. In other words, Thinset's the glue that bonds the tile to the surface to which the tile is being applied. And it does this by growing crystals. Hydration means growing crystals. As it dries and cures. As the Thinset dries and cures, it's going to grow crystals. The crystals interlock, penetrate into the surface of the tile and the substrate, thus bonding it together. The longer the Thinset is able to grow crystals, the stronger the bond and the stronger the Thinset. So what kind of Thinset should be used in any given application? Well, there's unmodified Thinset and modified Thinset. There are also other kinds of Thinset, but I'm not going to go into that here. We're just going to deal with the two main kinds, the modified and the unmodified. Unmodified Thinset is a Thinset that has no polymers added to it. A modified Thinset is a Thinset that has either polymers added to the powder during manufacturing, or an unmodified Thinset that is mixed with a liquid polymer on the job site just before you're going to use it. Modified Thinset is the most widely used mortar these days and is recommended for most applications and types of tiles. So why is the polymer in the Thinset anyway? Well, it's there to help the Thinset retain moisture so it can grow those crystals we talked about. Crystals need moisture to grow. And many of the substrates the tiles is installed on are very porous and thirsty. They'll absorb the moisture out of the Thinset, which in turn will prevent the Thinset from growing adequate amounts of crystals to gain strength. So the polymers help with this problem by keeping the moisture in the Thinset so it can hydrate, again, grow crystals properly. So when you go to the store, you'll see Thinsets that cost different amounts of money. Cheaper Thinsets and more expensive Thinsets. So in this case, you get what you pay for. The cheaper Thinsets have less of the components, Portland cement, lime, etc., in them than the more expensive Thinsets. So you get what you pay for. You don't want to use a cheap Thinset when installing a tile, because that's the glue that holds everything together. So modified Thinset also adds an adhesive quality to the bonding mechanism and also adds flexibility, which enhances the strength of the tile assembly. So modified Thinset is used to install porcelain tile on all kinds of substrates, porcelain, ceramic, on all kinds of substrates that call for modified Thinset. But we are not going to go into that here because I'm just trying to explain how Thinset works, not specific applications where it should be used, except for one. Now, unmodified Thinset was becoming a seldom used product, or if it was used, usually it was mixed with a liquid polymer to make it modified anyway. So unmodified Thinset, as the name suggests, has no polymers in it. And as I was saying, it was becoming seldomly used unless you added a liquid polymer to it, turning it into a modified Thinset. So it was seldomly used until Schluter came along and required unmodified Thinset to install tile on Curdy and Dietra. And unmodified Thinset, as the name suggests, has no polymers. So what's the difference, and why should you use unmodified Thinset on Schluter products? Here's the thing. The polymers in the modified Thinset help it retain moisture. So if the tile does not absorb moisture and the substrate is also impervious, which means it doesn't absorb moisture, then the moisture in the thinset becomes trapped because the polymer in it need to evaporate for the thinset to dry completely. This extends the drying time greatly. The only place for water in the thinset to escape is at the grout line, at the edge of the towel. So this is where unmodified thinset has an advantage. Trapped moisture in this case becomes a benefit. With unmodified thinset, moisture that is not consumed by the hydration process will not impede the hardening of the thinset, and it will eventually escape. The damp cure that the impervious sandwich creates only makes the thinset stronger and promotes a very tenacious bond to the tile. So that's how Thinset works, and I hope this clarifies a little bit of the mystery between modified and unmodified Thinsets. So I hope I helped you out.